Driverly.com, unlimited drama series.
She said it like she was picking a pizza topping. I'm taking him to the concert instead of you. He deserves it more. My name is David Chen, and that sentence changed everything. I was standing in our kitchen, watching my wife Sarah butter toast, like she hadn't just ripped my heart out through my chest. She meant her male best friend Jake Morrison, the one she always told me not to worry about. The golden boy lawyer from her firm, who somehow always needed her shoulder to cry on. I had bought those tickets 6 months ago. Front row seats to see her favorite band, the Midnight Echoes. Cost me $800 I couldn't really afford on my electrician's salary, but Sarah's birthday was coming up and I wanted to surprise her. Back then, she still looked at me like I was her future instead of her consolation prize. David, you understand, right? She didn't even look up from her breakfast. Jake's been through such a rough time with his divorce. He needs this more than you do. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. Something cold settled in my chest, like ice forming over a lake. Sure, honey, have fun. She finally looked at me then, surprised by how easily I'd given in. Really? You're not upset? Why would I be upset? I kept my voice steady, casual. You're just choosing another man over your husband. Again. Don't be dramatic. Jake is my friend. My best friend. Right. Your best friend who calls you at midnight. Your best friend who you dress up for. Your best friend who somehow always has emergencies when we have plans. Sarah's jaw tightened. You're being paranoid. Am I? I took a sip of my coffee, watching her over the rim. When's the last time you and I went anywhere together? Really went somewhere, just us? She opened her mouth, then closed it. We both knew the answer. 3 months. It had been 3 months since we'd done anything as a couple. That didn't involve Jake tagging along or Sarah canceling for Jake's latest crisis. This is different, she said finally. Jake bought a ticket too. We're going together as friends. Friends. I nodded slowly. Got it. An hour later, while Sarah was upstairs getting ready, her phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. The screen lit up with a message preview from Jake. Can't wait to have you all to myself tonight. Wear that dress I like. My chest tightened, but I still said nothing. I just stood there, staring at those words until the screen went dark. That dress I like. Not the blue one or the pretty one. The dress I like he had ownership over her choices. Sarah came downstairs 20 minutes later, wearing a black cocktail dress I'd never seen before. It hugged her curves in all the right places, showed just enough skin to be elegant, but tempting. She'd spent an hour on her makeup and hair. For her best friend? How do I look? She asked, doing a little spin. Beautiful, I said honestly. Jake's going to love it. Something flickered across her face. Guilt, maybe, or excitement. It's not about Jake. I just wanted to look nice. Of course. I kissed her cheek like a good husband should. Her perfume was different too, something new and expensive. Have a great time. She grabbed her purse, hesitated at the door. You're sure you're okay with this? Absolutely. You two have fun. The door closed behind her with a soft click. I counted to 10, then walked to the window and watched her get into Jake's BMW. He got out to open her door for her, his hand lingering on her lower back as she slid into the passenger seat. They were both laughing about something. 10 minutes after they left, my phone rang. Tommy Rodriguez, my buddy who worked security at the concert venue. Hey man, you coming tonight? Tommy's voice was awkward, like he was walking on broken glass. No, change of plans. Sarah's going with someone else. Yeah, about that. Tommy paused. I saw the guest list change. Your ticket got transferred to some guy named Morrison. But Dave, there's something else you should know. My grip tightened on the phone. What? I've seen them here before. Your wife and this Jake guy. 3 times in the past 2 months. They weren't acting like friends, man. They were holding hands in the VIP lounge, kissing by the bar. I thought maybe you guys were separated or something. The room started spinning. 3 times. They'd been here 3 times while I was working late shifts, thinking I was building a future for us. You still there, Dave? Yeah, thanks for telling me. I'm sorry, man. I thought you should know. I hung up and sat down hard on our couch. Our couch, where Jake had been sitting just last week, his arm around Sarah while they watched a movie. I'd been in the kitchen making popcorn, happy that my wife had such a good friend to support her. What an idiot I'd been. I didn't cry, I didn't call her, I didn't break anything or punch walls like they do in movies. Instead, I got up and started packing, methodically, calmly, like I was following a checklist. Clothes in garbage bags, important documents in a box, tools in my truck. I took only what was mine, left everything we'd bought together. It took me 2 hours to pack up 3 years of marriage. When I was done, I sat at our kitchen table and wrote one note on the back of the electric bill. He can have the tickets and you. I left it where she'd see it first thing, right next to her coffee maker. Then I loaded my truck and drove to the Motel 6 on Highway 9. $28 a night. It smelled like disinfectant and broken dreams, but it was mine. Sarah started calling around midnight. I let it ring once, then texted, "You chose him in public." So I chose myself in private. She called 17 more times that night. I counted. The next morning, Sarah showed up at the electrical supply shop where I worked. I was loading wire spools into my truck when I saw her BMW pull into the parking lot. She got out wearing yesterday's dress, her makeup smeared, her hair a mess. She looked like she'd been crying all night. "David!" She ran across the parking lot in her heels. "What the hell is wrong with you?" My coworkers were staring. Great. "Keep your voice down, Sarah." "Keep my voice down? You abandoned me. I came home to an empty apartment and a nasty note. I left you exactly what you wanted, an empty space for Jake to fill." Her face crumpled. "It's not like that. Jake and I are just friends. Friends who hold hands at concerts, friends who kiss at bars, friends who text about dresses they like." She went white. "How do you know about your secret dates? Turns out I have friends too." I slammed the truck door shut. Friends who actually give a damn about me. Those weren't dates. We were just what, Sarah? Just having an affair? Just lying to me for months? Just making me look like an idiot in front of everyone? "It's not an affair," she screamed. "We haven't slept together." The parking lot went dead quiet. Every worker, every customer, everyone stopped what they were doing to stare at us. Sarah realized what she'd just admitted and covered her mouth with her hands. "But you want to?" I said quietly. "That's what this is about, isn't it? You want to sleep with Jake, but you want to keep me around as backup. The safe choice. The guy who pays half the rent and asks for nothing. That's not true. Then come home with me right now. Cut contact with Jake. Choose your marriage." She opened her mouth, then closed it. The silence stretched between us like a chasm. That's what I thought. I got in my truck. "Goodbye, Sarah." "David, wait." I drove away, leaving her standing in the parking lot in her wrinkled dress and yesterday's makeup. In my rearview mirror, I watched her get smaller and smaller until she disappeared. My phone started buzzing immediately. Texts from Sarah, from her sister Lisa, from our mutual friends. Everyone wanting to know what happened, everyone taking sides. I turned off my phone and drove to Murphy's bar, the dive where electricians and plumbers went to forget their problems. "Heard you had some excitement at work today," Murphy said, sliding a beer across the bar. He was a thick-set Irish guy who'd owned this place for 20 years and heard every sob story in the book. "News travels fast. Your wife called here looking for you. Sounded pretty upset." "She's not my wife anymore." Murphy raised an eyebrow. That was quick. I told him everything. The concert, the tickets, Tommy's call, the packing. Murphy listened without judgment, occasionally nodding or refilling my beer. "So, what's your plan?" he asked when I finished. "Find an apartment, file for divorce, start over. That's it? No fight? No trying to win her back?" I laughed bitterly. "Win her back from what? She made her choice months ago. I was just too stupid to see it. Maybe. Or maybe she's just confused. People do dumb things when they're confused. She's not confused." Murphy. She's in love with someone else. Has been for a while. I was just the convenient husband who didn't ask questions. Murphy wiped down a glass, thinking. You know what your problem is, Dave? You're too nice, too understanding. Some people mistake kindness for weakness. So what should I do? Fight for a woman who doesn't want me? Nah. But you shouldn't make it easy for her either. She wants to have her cake and eat it too. Don't let her. I stayed at Murphy's until closing time, nursing beers and thinking about what he'd said. When I finally got back to the motel, there were 43 missed calls from Sarah and a dozen voicemails I didn't listen to. Instead, I called a divorce lawyer. The divorce papers were served on a Tuesday. I know because Sarah called me screaming at 2:47 p.m., right in the middle of a job installing outlets in a new office building. You filed for divorce? Without even talking to me? We talked yesterday and the day before, and every day for the past week. You want Jake? I'm giving you Jake. I don't want Jake. I want to fix this. No, you want to fix me. Make me okay with being your second choice. I'm not okay with it, Sarah. I'm never going to be okay with it. Can we please just meet somewhere and talk? Really talk? Against my better judgment, I agreed. We met at Denny's neutral territory where she couldn't make a scene. She showed up looking perfect again, like she'd spent hours getting ready to convince me to take her back. I ended it with Jake, she said before I could even sit down. Ended what? I thought you were just friends. Her cheeks flushed. You know what I mean. No, I don't. Spell it out for me, Sarah. What exactly did you end? She stared at her coffee cup. We were close. Closer than we should have been. But we never crossed the line. What line? The kissing line? The holding hands line? The secret dates line? Which line didn't you cross? We never slept together. Congratulations. You want a medal for not quite cheating on your husband? Don't be cruel, David. This is hard enough. Hard for who? You? You think this is hard for you? I leaned forward. Let me tell you what's hard. Hard is finding out your wife has been dating another man for months. Hard is realizing everyone in town knew except you. Hard is packing up your life while your wife is out with her boyfriend. He's not my boyfriend. Then what is he? She was quiet for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. I don't know. Well, when you figure it out, let me know. Maybe we can be friends. I left her sitting in that booth, crying into her coffee. I felt bad for about 10 minutes. Then I remembered the text message. Wear that dress I like. The possessiveness in those words. The intimacy. My phone rang as I was driving back to work. Unknown number. David, this is Jake Morrison. I almost hung up. What do you want? I want to apologize and explain. Nothing to explain. You wanted my wife, you got her. Congratulations. It's not like that. Sarah and I were just friends. We've always been just friends. Friends who go on dates, friends who kiss in bars, friends who text about dresses. There was a pause. Who told you that? Does it matter? The point is, it happened. Look, can we meet somewhere? Man to man? I think there's been a misunderstanding. The only misunderstanding was me thinking my wife loved me. That's been cleared up. She does love you. She's been crying for a week straight. Then she should have thought about that before she decided to play house with you. I hung up on him. 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. Jake wants to explain everything. Please just listen to him. I texted back, I'm done listening. You made your choice. But Jake didn't give up. He showed up at my job site the next day, driving his BMW like he owned the world. He was everything I wasn't. Tall, polished, confident. The kind of man who wore suits that cost more than I made in a month. David, we need to talk. No, we don't. I kept working, running wire through the walls. 5 minutes, that's all I'm asking. You've got some balls, I'll give you that. Coming to my job to explain how you stole my wife. I didn't steal anything. Sarah and I have been friends since law school. That's all we've ever been. I stopped working and looked at him. You really think I'm that stupid? I think you're hurt and angry, and you're not seeing clearly. I'm seeing perfectly clear. Clear enough to know that friends don't text each other about dresses they like. Clear enough to know that friends don't hold hands at concerts. Jake's confident expression faltered. How do you know about that? I know a lot of things, like how you've been taking my wife out while I was working overtime to pay for the life she wanted. Like how you've been calling her at midnight when you knew I'd be asleep. Like how you convinced her to choose you over me for a concert I paid for. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Explain it to me, Jake. Make me understand how a married woman ends up on secret dates with her male best friend. He ran his hand through his perfect hair. Sarah was unhappy. She felt like you two were drifting apart. I was just being a friend, listening to her problems, and holding her hand, and kissing her, and telling her what to wear. We never kissed. I swear to God, we never kissed. But you wanted to. He didn't answer, which was answer enough. Get off my job site, I said quietly, and stay away from me. David, I said get off my job site before I do something we'll both regret.
She texted you come back to bed at 3 a.m. Last Tuesday, you told me you were at your sister's.
Watch more on Grammarly.com.
He left, but not before giving me a look that said this wasn't over. I watched his BMW disappear down the street and wondered how long it would take before he and Sarah stopped pretending they were just friends. I didn't have to wait long to find out. 3 days later, I saw them together at Romano's, the fancy Italian place downtown. I was driving past on my way to pick up supplies when I spotted Jake's BMW in the parking lot. Something made me pull over and look through the restaurant window. There they were, sitting at a corner table, Sarah's hand covering Jake's across the white tablecloth. She was wearing the black dress again, the one Jake liked. They were leaning toward each other, talking intensely, looking like every other couple in the restaurant. Except Sarah was still technically married to me. I took out my phone and snapped a picture through the window. Then another. Then a video of Jake lifting Sarah's hand to his lips and kissing her knuckles while she smiled. My phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. Working late tonight. Don't wait up. I texted back, I won't. Enjoy Romano's. My phone rang immediately. David, how did I know you were lying to me? Lucky guess. I was still sitting in my truck, watching them through the window. Nice dress. Jake must love it. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. You're on a date with another man while you're still married to me. We're just talking about us, about what happened. Right. And the hand-holding, the kissing, that's just friendly conversation? There was a long pause. You're watching us. I'm watching my wife have dinner with her boyfriend. Yeah, Jake is not my boyfriend. Then what do you call a man who takes you to expensive restaurants and kisses your hand while your husband is working? I call him a friend who's helping me through a difficult time. A difficult time you created by cheating on me. I never cheated on you. No, you just did everything except sleep with him. That's not cheating. That's just being a coward. I hung up and drove away, leaving them to their romantic dinner. But I wasn't done. Not even close. That night, I called my lawyer and told him about the restaurant. He said it would help with the divorce, especially if Sarah tried to claim she wanted alimony. Document everything, he advised. Photos, texts, witnesses. Build a case. I started building that case the next morning. I called Tommy at the concert venue and asked him to write down everything he'd seen. I talked to Murphy at the bar, who remembered Sarah and Jake coming in together several times. I even talked to our neighbor, Mrs. Chen, who had seen Jake's car in our driveway on days when I was at work. I thought it was strange, Mrs. Chen said. A married woman having male visitors when her husband isn't home. But I didn't want to interfere. I wish you had interfered. Would have saved me a lot of trouble. I'm sorry, David. Sarah seemed like such a nice girl. She is a nice girl. She's just not a faithful wife. The evidence piled up quickly. Photos, witness statements, a paper trail of lies and secret meetings. My lawyer was impressed. This is more than enough for a no-fault divorce, he said. She won't get a penny in alimony. But I wasn't just thinking about money anymore. I was thinking about justice, about consequences, about making sure Sarah understood that actions have prices I started with her friends. Our friends, really, the couples we'd hung out with for years. I called them one by one and told them the truth about why we were getting divorced. Not the sanitized version Sarah was probably spreading, but the real story. The secret dates, the lies, the emotional affair that was probably physical by now. Most of them were shocked. A few admitted they'd suspected something but hadn't wanted to say anything. One of them, Jessica, Sarah's maid of honor, was furious. "I can't believe she did this to you. After everything you've done for her." "What do you mean?" "The way you supported her through law school. The way you worked overtime so she could take unpaid internships. The way you moved here so she could take her dream job. You gave up everything for her career." I had forgotten about that. How I'd left my hometown, my family, my established business to follow Sarah's dreams. How I'd started over in a new city where I didn't know anyone, building a client base from scratch while she climbed the corporate ladder. "She's been telling people you grew apart," Jessica continued, "that you wanted different things. She's not mentioning Jake at all." "Of course she's not. That would make her look bad. Do you want me to tell people the truth?" "Tell them whatever you want. I'm done protecting her reputation." Jessica must have talked, because within a week, everyone knew. Sarah's carefully constructed image as the victim of a failed marriage crumbled as the real story spread through our social circle. She called me, crying and furious. "How could you do this to me? How could you destroy my reputation?" "I didn't destroy anything. I just told the truth. You destroyed your own reputation when you decided to cheat." "I didn't cheat. How many times do I have to tell you that? You had an emotional affair. You went on secret dates. You lied to me for months. Call it whatever you want, but don't pretend you're innocent." "Everyone hates me now. My friends won't even talk to me." "Good. Maybe now you'll understand how I felt when I found out everyone in town knew about your boyfriend except me." "Jake is not my boyfriend." "Then prove it. Cut contact with him. Completely. No calls, no texts, no meetings. Choose your marriage or choose him, but stop trying to have both." There was a long silence. "I can't do that. Jake needs me right now." And there it is. The truth finally comes out. You choose him. It's not about choosing, it's exactly about choosing. And you've made your choice. Live with it. I hung up and blocked her number. I was done being her safety net. Done being the understanding husband who accepted whatever scraps of attention she threw my way. It was time for Sarah to learn what it felt like to lose something important. 2 weeks later, I got a call from Tommy at the concert venue. "Hey Dave, thought you should know. Your ex-wife and her boyfriend are here again tonight. VIP section, acting like they own the place. Thanks for the heads up. You want me to do anything? Spill a drink on them? Accidentally double book their table?" I laughed. "No, but thanks for the offer." But Tommy's call gave me an idea, a way to give Sarah and Jake exactly what they deserved. I spent the next week planning. I called in favors, made arrangements, set everything up perfectly. Then I waited for the right moment. It came on a Saturday night. Sarah posted on social media about having dinner at Romano's with a good friend, the same restaurant where I'd caught them before. She was still playing the innocent victim, still pretending Jake was just a friend. I drove to Romano's and parked across the street. Sure enough, Jake's BMW was in the parking lot. Through the window, I could see them at the same corner table, holding hands again. Sarah was wearing a new dress, red this time. Jake's favorite color, according to her old social media posts. I waited until they were deep in conversation, then I walked into the restaurant. The hostess tried to seat me, but I told her I was just looking for someone. I walked straight to their table. "Sarah, Jake, fancy meeting you here?" They jerked apart like they'd been electrocuted. Sarah's face went white. "David? What are you doing here?" "Having dinner. Same as you." I looked around the crowded restaurant. Though I have to say, this is a strange place for just friends to meet. Very romantic. Very intimate. "We're just talking," Jake said, but he couldn't meet my eyes. "Right, just talking." I pulled out my phone and showed them the photo I'd taken weeks ago. "Just like you were just talking here before. And at the concert venue. And at Murphy's bar. You two do a lot of just talking." Sarah grabbed for my phone. "Delete that." "Why?" It's just two friends having dinner. Nothing wrong with that, right? Other diners were starting to stare. The restaurant was getting quiet as people sensed drama. Please don't do this, Sarah whispered. Not here. Do what? Tell the truth? Why shouldn't I tell the truth, Sarah? You've been lying for months. I think it's time for some honesty. I turned to address the restaurant. Excuse me, everyone. Sorry to interrupt your meals, but I wanted you to meet my wife, Sarah, and her boyfriend, Jake. They're not officially together yet because we're still married, but they've been dating for months. Isn't that romantic? The restaurant erupted, people gasping, whispering, pulling out phones to record the drama. Sarah buried her face in her hands while Jake stood up angrily. You're making a scene, he hissed. I'm making a scene? I'm not the one having an affair in public. I'm not the one lying to everyone I know. I'm just the guy whose wife decided she wanted someone else. We're not having an affair. Then what do you call it when a married woman goes on secret dates with another man? When she lies to her husband about where she's going? When she chooses another man over her marriage? Jake looked around the restaurant, realizing how this looked to everyone watching. You're crazy. Sarah, we're leaving. Good idea. You two make a great couple. Very well suited. You're both liars. They rushed out of the restaurant, leaving their dinner half-eaten on the table. I calmly walked to the bar and ordered a beer, ignoring the stares and whispers around me. The bartender, a woman in her 50s, shook her head sympathetically. That was brutal. They had it coming. Still, public humiliation is a hell of a thing. So is public betrayal. I finished my beer and left, feeling lighter than I had in months. My phone was buzzing with calls and texts, but I ignored them all. I'd said what I needed to say. The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls from Sarah and a voicemail from Jake, threatening to sue me for harassment. I called my lawyer. Can he sue me for telling the truth in public? Not successfully. Truth is an absolute defense. Though I'd avoid doing it again. Might look bad in divorce court. Don't worry. I'm done with both of them. But I wasn't quite done. There was one more thing I needed to do. I drove to Sarah's law firm, a sleek glass building downtown, where she'd been working toward making partner. I asked to speak to her boss, Richard Kellerman, a stern man in his 60s, who valued the firm's reputation above everything else. Mr. Chen, what can I do for you? I wanted to let you know that my wife, Sarah Chen, has been having an affair with Jake Morrison. I thought you should know, given that they both work here and it might affect their professional judgment. Kellerman's expression didn't change, but I saw something flicker in his eyes. That's a serious accusation. It's not an accusation, it's a fact. I have photos, witnesses, documentation of their relationship. They've been lying about it for months, but it's affecting their work. Sarah's been leaving early for dates, taking long lunches, using company time for personal calls. I handed him a folder with copies of everything I'd gathered. Photos, witness statements, a timeline of their affair. Kellerman looked through it all with the expression of a man who'd just found termites in his foundation. This is concerning. I'll need to investigate this thoroughly. Of course. I just thought you should know that 2 of your employees have been conducting a secret relationship, while one of them is married. Might reflect poorly on the firm if it becomes public knowledge. Kellerman nodded grimly. Thank you for bringing this to my attention. I left the folder with him and walked out, knowing that Sarah's dreams of making partner had just evaporated. The firm couldn't afford to promote someone involved in a messy affair, especially when it involved 2 employees and a very public scandal. My phone rang as I was driving home. Sarah sobbing. How could you do this to me? How could you destroy my career? I didn't destroy anything. Your choices destroyed your career. Your lies destroyed your career. I just made sure the right people knew the truth. I'll lose my job. They're talking about transferring me to another office. Then you should have thought about that before you decided to have an affair with a coworker. It wasn't an affair. Keep telling yourself that, Sarah. Maybe someday you'll believe it. I hung up and drove home to my new apartment, a small but clean place across town. It wasn't much, but it was mine. No lies, no drama, no wife who looked at me like I was an inconvenience. For the first time in months, I felt free. The divorce was finalized 6 weeks later. Sarah got nothing except her personal belongings and half the debt we'd accumulated during our marriage. No alimony, no settlement, no house. The evidence of her affair made sure of that. She and Jake both ended up transferring to the firm's branch office in Cleveland, a smaller, less prestigious position that effectively ended their partnership dreams. The scandal followed them, as scandals do in small legal communities. I heard through mutual friends that they finally made their relationship official after the divorce was final. They moved in together in Cleveland, trying to start fresh where nobody knew their story. I hope they're happy. I hope it was worth it. As for me, I'm doing fine. Better than fine, actually. I started my own electrical contracting business, something I'd always wanted to do but never had the courage to try. Without Sarah's expensive tastes and social expectations, I could afford to take the risk. Business is good. I work hard, make decent money, and sleep well at night knowing that nobody is lying to me or sneaking around behind my back. Sometimes I think about that night at the concert, the night that started it all. Sarah in her black dress, holding Jake's hand, both of them thinking they were so clever, so careful, so sure that I'd never find out. They wanted to have their cake and eat it too. They wanted the excitement of a secret affair and the security of a marriage. They wanted passion and stability, romance and reliability. They ended up with nothing but each other and a reputation for dishonesty that will follow them for years. As for the concert tickets that started this whole mess, I found out later that they never even used them. They were too busy dealing with the fallout from their exposed affair to enjoy their romantic evening. The tickets expired, worthless, just like their promises.